This is a masked off production, and we're going to be talking today about something very deep. Let me share to you my thoughts of the day. What is the problem here? There's a secret life in us, as Dr. Carl Gustav Jung has mentioned in his most popular works, that seeks an outward manifestation. Without that expression towards the completion of a sane individual, vices, patterns of overcompensation, guilt, shame, anger, and defense mechanisms plague the individual as a disgraceful standard of living that is hidden in the shadows of their lives. This turns in a double life, the persona character, in which a mask is worn for the activities that involve your family, your friends, your coworkers, and even with your spouse. The person becomes over identified with their persona life, and their repressed attributes that are deemed unfit for the daily world become darker and out of control. Once the right buttons are pressed, this repressed energy, it bursts out to the surface with little restraint and causes great damage in the individual's personal, relational, and professional life. This is a problem that comes with not living with the full acceptance and daily improvement of who we are in its complete form. This usually happens with the transferred fear of the parents to the child about what image to project to the world while living another life behind closed doors. Here we find a valid example of a child which learns more from who you're being and what you're doing instead of what you're saying. We end up living with a sensitive self-worth and a sensitive value mechanism that belongs in the perception of what we feel others will have of us. This is the most common example of giving your power away. Dr. Carl Gustav Jung suggests to us that by willfully embarking in a process of individuation, an individual can look to complete the separated aspects of themselves into one being. Royal classical yoga had the same intention in mind through a system of various lifestyle practices that bring conditioning to the maintenance of the whole individual. Yoga does mean union, but it is by far what we see today through its watered down form of circus stretches and nightmare contortions. Kids will think that, you know what, maybe yoga is sitting down in a lotus position with your fingers pinched together. It is a form of what Dr. Carl Jung was talking about with the help of another psychologist, Dr. Viktor Frankl, which emphasized that finding your reason for being can help you to overcome any challenge in life. Today, where people are drowning in debt with health and with financial problems, the solution would be clear. If I was all of me, if only I was all of me, I could do anything. We have learned real young how to disassociate in the presence of discomfort, yet not one person is teaching us how do we do the very opposite. As a consequence, our attention span is decreasing, we get offended more easily, we assume faulty conclusions that we take personally and get hurt repeatedly over time. This connects to what Dr. Abraham Maslow was also talking about, realizing your full potential. It is easier to overcome your obstacles when you have a clear vision of who you are and the beneficial impact that you want to live as a legacy. It's not a legacy that you leave, it's a legacy that you live. Yoga does include a physical, emotional, and spiritual meaningfulness aspect into a daily practice. And we can create an evolving form of yoga that combines physical exercises that are more commonly available today as an extension and infusion of what Dr. Viktor Frankl, Dr. Carl Jung, and Dr. Abraham Maslow have been trying to teach to the world. A new yoga is needed today. And it's needed as a disciplined form of living that helps us to be all of ourselves towards overcoming the most common obstacles that is disqualifying the majority of us to enjoy the greatest guilt-free pleasures known to humans. To self-realize yourself through the process of individuation, you need to overcome the natural pull of the unseen forces and influences that keep you from transcending the most common challenges that destabilize the proper functioning of a person's potential. Poor health, poor finances, having no deep purpose for living messes with your mind in a way that you wouldn't even wish to your worst enemy. It is an unbearable pain that is unfortunately experienced too commonly today. People are not addressing the core reason of their dissatisfied life, still thinking it is simply by pleasure seeking and material accumulations that they will be fulfilled. Having a nice body, spouse, a family, they all fallen in the category of material accumulation because we have always been divorced from ourselves. Every decision done in that divorce state is heading towards continual divorces that we put up with while mistaking it for the reality of life. This is a standard that can only lead to various illnesses of every kind. We're dealing today with a massing amount of suicide, anxiety, autoimmune disease, and depression. The number of reported cases is rapidly on the rise. The diseases are telling us to pay attention to the sources of tension that we encounter in life. It is a signal to change our philosophy of living and mature our lifestyle habits.